All right, you probably dread it every year and maybe even put it off until the last minute. We're talking about filing taxes. Just had mine done yesterday, but we found a lady here who loves this time of year more than many people would. She works for Liberty Tax, but does not exactly have a desk job. Our Sarah Wagner has the 5 questions and her 5 answers.
From January to April, the inside of this Liberty Tax is booming with business.
We'll need you to either bring in your last paycheck stub or your W-2.
But the paperwork isn't the spirit of the season. You'll find that right here.
Liberty Tax, $50.
One look at that costume.
It means freedom.
And a quick listen to that cheer.
Woo!
Show you Cassandra Muckle is indeed the star of the show, a role she's really played since birth.
My mother named me after, she was one of the stars in the sky, so she named me Cassandra.
Totaling up your taxes can make you green with envy or feeling blue. Cassandra may rock both of those colors, but she's very much the bright light.
I'm happy and joyful, and I love everybody.
That unconditional care for any and all, also the reason behind this answer.
I would be a dog because I love dogs, and they are really understanding to human beings. Sometimes it's like they are humans, and they're a man's best friends.
This mother of 2 seems to never meet a stranger.
Where do I go to?
Right over there, Liberty Tax.
I'm going to talk to him.
Okay, you're welcome.
So it may shock you to learn she occasionally sides with silence.
Sometimes I'm kind of quiet, but then sometimes I'm really loud. So they're like, what sign are you? And I'm like, I'm a Virgo. And they're like, oh, okay.
A Louisville native, Cassandra's called the Derby City home her entire life, but it's not her dream destination. In a perfect world, she'd be working as an executive assistant for some fancy CEO in the Big Apple. Her current office may be a sidewalk instead of a skyscraper, but she's hardly settling.
That's just perfect for me because I always wanted to go to New York, and I actually came here and I got a position being Lady Liberty.
It's even better knowing she gets to move and groove on Broadway.
Just work it, just to drive people, give them my drive.
Cassandra braves the elements each and every day, but hates thinking about others who never get the chance to escape them. That's why changing their fate would be part of her platform as president.
The first thing that I would do is visit every state and see how everything is going, and try to help the homeless, because I hate to see the homeless outside in the cold.
Her waves are constant, as is her wisdom.
Just keep God first and just always look ahead. Always look ahead and always go for what it is you want in life.
Sarah Wagner,
Liberty Tax!
WHAS 11 News.
He steps into danger with every shift, but considers his career as a firefighter a true honor.
In this week's edition of our 5 question series, you'll meet one of Louisville's bravest. GMK's Sarah Wagner with his 5 answers.
You'll find historic firehouses all over this city. Number 17 Engine Company, now known as Squirt 17, is no exception.
With a super soaker, that's good, very good, you got it.
That's Keith Jones, one of the superstars of the Super Soakers.
Get them windows, babe.
He started with the Louisville Fire Department in 2002.
Get them doors down.
14 years later, the job is still more than a profession. It's his passion.
Just a chance to help people, and then you get paid for it, so it's actually pretty awesome,
Serving others goes far past the badge and uniform.
Who's cooking today?
A few years ago, Keith started a nonprofit that helps at-risk kids not only make it to college, but stay there.
Helping people turns me on. It does it for me.
That's why he tried to wash away worries if he became the country's head honcho.
I'm going to go with free college education. Free college education sounds awesome to me. To take the strain and the stress off the families and really open up the doors for everybody to obtain higher education.
If another option for an occupation came up, this firefighter would have close calls of another kind.
Wow, I would be a sports broadcaster. So I love sports. I love talking. I love being engaged in the game and on the courts. I would love to either interview guys or be a play-by-play announcer for basketball or football.
This public servant is always putting others above himself, but he'd switch it up as an animal.
I would be a lion. Just the fact that it has the king of the jungle, just to have that aura just for a little while, just to be the top dog, that carnivore.
That sense of leadership coming through loud and clear when asked what the world could use right now.
A little more sensitivity. I think we take the freedom of speech thing a little too far because you have the opportunity to say exactly what you feel when you want to say it. I think we do that too often.
Keith tries to make each day as bright as the wheels he shines.
If I'm blessed enough and fortunate enough to wake up in the morning, then the rest of it's on me. You know, everybody didn't have that opportunity.
This guy's soul and spirit will flood you with feelings as warm as the fires he puts out.
Okay. I remember that.
And hopes you'll remember this about him.
I want, when I leave, people to do positive things in their lives and for other people based on what they saw me do, or based on what I did for them. I want my voice to be the little voice inside of people's head when they want to do something negative and instead choose to do something positive, or when they want to give up, choose to keep going, or when they're making a good or bad decision, I want my voice to be the reminder to them to make the right decision.
Sarah Wagner, WHAS 11 News.
He works in one of the city's oldest landmarks and likely knows more about the Seelbach Hotel than anyone else.
In this week's edition of our 5 Questions series, you're going to meet a man who was equal parts history buff and day brightener. Here's GMK's Sarah Wagner with his 5 answers.
More than a century ago, the Seelbach solidified its spot as a crown jewel of the Derby City. You'll find the brightest gem of the place on the 7th floor.
You know, I searched for a long time looking for a dream job, and I think 35 years ago I found it.
Larry Johnson loves the Seelbach so much, he wrote a book about it. His grand tour of roles around the hotel making him more than qualified to do so.
Started out working at the front door. I was first doorman they hired. Tuxedo tails, top hat, greeting the guests. Did that for 3 years. Then I was a bell captain for about 18 years. And lobby concierge for several years and then up here.
This jack of all trades even won National Bellman of the Year back in 1988. It's an amazing accomplishment, but Larry has a few others who make him the proudest.
Probably my favorite is my wife, my daughter, my grandkids. You know, they're my life. My wife and I will be married 51 years in April. And it's just not a day goes by that I don't see something that I'm glad I did.
Larry serves all of his guests.
Order up.
With whatever their hearts and appetites desire.
He always stayed in room 724.
Always adding a side of stories.
All the presidents, both Bushes and Bill Clinton, they would pull up on the side out on Muhammad Ali.
Larry is always able to tell a tale and considers this his best bit of wisdom to pass along.
Get as much education as you can. Education will take care of you in the long run, and if you're fortunate enough with the education and get your dream job, then you've made it.
If this caretaker could give the world a little more of something, he says it'd be a simple but powerful gift.
Ellen DeGeneres says it every day, love, and just need to get along more. Open up a hand and shake hands with the next person you see.
With more than 3 decades devoted to the hotel, this Seelbach superior has lived through a lot. If it was up to him, he'd live through even more.
I would like to go back in time and see Jackie Robinson playing baseball. I'd like to be able to enjoy Johnny Unitas throwing the football. I'd like to see John Kennedy live longer.
This once self-proclaimed shy guy is silent no more. He never meets a stranger and hopes his service speaks for itself when it's all said and done.
That I'll be remembered and I've done the best job I could do. And I feel like if that's what comes out of it, then I'll be very pleased.
Sarah Wagner, WHAS 11 News.
6:46 on this Tuesday morning, and he's made it his goal to make his town a better place each and every day. In this week's edition of our 5-question series, you'll meet one of Bedford's finest men, GMK's Sarah Wagner, with his 5 answers today.
With a population hovering just around the 600 mark, Bedford is a small but mighty town.
I love because I know about everybody in it.
And everybody here knows Paul Carter. His full name is actually Noble Paul Carter, a tribute to both an aunt and uncle, but he dropped the Paul part a while back.
There used to be a Noble Carter that lived close to me, and our mail got mixed up, so I just started using Paul.
For about 10 years now, this former handyman has taken it upon himself to become Bedford's cheerleader.
It makes me know that I've accomplished something if I made somebody happy.
Riding a scooter through town, rolling out random acts of kindness.
Everywhere I go, they'll holler at me and stuff. I have to watch going up and down the street because somebody's hollering. I have to look around. Speed, don't quit that speeding, they'll say. Slow down. Gonna give you a ticket, though. That kind of stuff.
He may not be reaching top speeds with those wheels of his, but as an animal, he would.
I would probably be a lion. Not because he eats other animals, but because I just like the way he looks when he runs and growls and all that stuff.
Paul also picked up painting as a kid, adding artists to his collection of careers.
I watched Bob Ross on TV. And Jerry Yarnell, and this old German and his wife. So I took some hints from them. And I guess I had a little natural in there too, because it just come out.
If Paul could travel back in time, he'd go back a couple thousand years to meet the man he lives for.
But I would like to have been here when Jesus was on earth and to see him in person.
Faith is the foundation of this father of four's life.
God gives you a joy that lasts in the night and the day and any time. He's with us everywhere.
That kind of hope is something Paul wants to spread to each and every person he can.
The world needs a whole lot more of L-O-V-E, love. You know, no matter what color our skin is or what we are, we can love one another. I found that out. I've never seen a person that I don't love, that I can't get along with.
This guy is a firm believer that serving that goodness to others can come in all forms, especially food.
Someday, I'm going to have a soup kitchen in this town, regardless of all the obstacles.
This optimist knows it's not the most profitable position, but he believes his reward will come after a life lived for others.
That's all I ask. I don't need to be a millionaire because I may be one in heaven.
And Paul says that's the only paycheck he'll ever need.
I actually don't know how much I'm worth. I may be up there with Mr. Trump. You reckon?
Sarah Wagner.
I think so.
WHAS 11 News.
He may be one in heaven. He's already one on earth, I venture to say. Well, we want to hear from you.
Well, he has played in front of thousands, but calls the classroom the best stage of all. In this week's edition of our 5-question series, you're going to meet the musician hitting the mark with his youngest of fans. WHAS 11 Sarah Wagner has his 5 answers.
Every day at the JCC preschool is full of fun. The schedule is always jam-packed with activities, but Fridays from 10:45 to 11:15 are a fan favorite for these 4-year-olds.
Hello.
This weekly half-hour spot.
Good morning, Boker. Tote, tote, tote.
Reserved for the one and only Mr. John.
I wear that like a badge of honor.
Musician is a title he's held for a while now.
Put your hands in the air and spin around.
His hands never straying too far from that guitar.
I call music the whole food because it not only touches the spirit, it animates something. It's a spark that calls us to take hold of life.
Treating in the clubs for the classrooms makes for a much younger crowd.
I'm an old guy, so I don't have any grandkids yet, but I have a couple hundred grandkids. I'm the surrogate grandpa.
What they lack in age, they make up for in admiration.
The kids touch me in a way that is just powerful. Oh, the seals on the bus go.
He may sing about the seals.
Bat.
And have
Bat?
beats about the bats.
What sound does he make? Like a squeak, squeak, yeah.
But it's another animal he'd choose if he got the chance.
You know, the first thing that came in my mind was eagle. And I like heights. I like the freedom of soaring.
The soundtrack of this music man's life is full of songs that will never fade, with a certain one that's always on repeat.
I grew up with 50s music, bebop-a-lula. The lyrics were sort of superficial. So when I was 17 years old, I heard Peter, Paul, and Mary singing Blowing in the Wind, and it blew me away. It changed my whole life.
Mr. John is a big believer in the power of words, but not too many.
When I preached my first sermon, I was 16 years old, and it was at a little country church that my grandparents went to, and so they were letting me speak. And on the way there, I remember Grandpa saying, "Son, the Spirit can only absorb as much as the seat can endure." Brevity. Just learn the art and the gift of brevity, and don't go on and on, because it usually goes downhill from, as you do that.
Luckily, the attention spans of these little ones welcome the less is more concept with open arms.
Everybody jumping up and down.
And happy feet. A lifelong musician, Mr. John has more than a few things to be proud of, but this current gig tops the charts.
They're learning all the time, and the chance to reinforce that daily with music is about the best in my life for me right now. I need a place to call my own.
It looks like Mr. John has found just that.
See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile.
Sarah Wagner, WHAS 11 News.
Love you guys. Little kisses. Love you. Very special friends. Love you, baby.